You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. welcoming you to another lap of Extra Mile for today, April 21st, 2025. Well, there is a new championship leader in Formula One. NASCAR is heading to Talladega. IndyCar is on its way to test for the greatest race in May, and the WEC just completed 6 hours in Imola. Now, let me talk about all of this and more are my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman, Jenn B.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hello.
So we will get ready to get into everything when we come right back after we pay some bills. We'll get started with NASCAR on the other side of this break, so sit tight. We'll be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl, Chris, and Jen here with you this evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with NASCAR, a Xfinity and truck only weekend for the Cup Series, or for NASCAR. The Cup Series got their pretty much their only break for the rest of the season, as they will now be heading on to the fight for the regular season championship and the rest of the season starting at Talladega coming up this weekend. But the Xfinity race is what is grabbing all the headlines, and unfortunately for all the wrong reasons, as it started off as a weekend where long-time losing streaks got broken at the Rock, as NASCAR had their first races there in about a decade, with the Truck Series race going to Tyler Ankrum, breaking a long losing streak. And on the track, Jesse Love ended up picking up the win, getting his first on a non-super speedway, but an infraction with the suspension disqualified him, and Sammy Smith takes the win in that race. However, what everyone is talking about, unfortunately, was an early wreck involving Catherine Legg, William Sawalich, and Casey Kane, who was making his first NASCAR start in about 7 years. During the early stages of the race, Catherine Legg, who did not qualify but bought the ride with J.J. Yaley to get into the race, was off the pace in the second line when she was run into from behind by William Sawalich, ended up collecting Casey Kane, who ended up finishing in the top 15. The replays didn't look good. I'm going to be honest. She was in the middle of the racetrack, not on pace, and William Sawalich got into the back of her. This is the second start of about 12 between Cup and Xfinity that Catherine Legg is going to do in NASCAR this season, as well as attempting to qualify for the Indy 500. And both have gone horribly. I think it just might be a situation, Chris, that stock cars just might not be her jam. And that's okay, but unfortunately, it's causing some issues. And it's already caused issues this season.
Yeah. Yeah. And I might lose my voice a little bit. I think I'm coming down with something. But
oh no.
Oh, it's okay. So yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to that age-old saying, violence begets violence, caution begets cautions. So, we see it all the time in sports in general. Sports is a lot about momentum. And, right now she's just got some negative momentum going, but, one good race can turn that, and flip that right upside down. So, she's still got, quite a bit to go in her stock car racing career. So, I would say that she's down, but she's not out. And she's, I would say perfectly capable of having some success. So that's what I'll be looking out for.
I think I'm the opposite direction when it comes to this. And I've followed Catherine Legg from Champ Car into IndyCar and sports cars to now. She is a very talented driver. But there also comes a time where the sport has gotten past you, and it happens to everybody.
Yep.
Catherine Legg is 44.
Yep.
And we know drivers, particularly in circle track type racing, once you hit 40, that cliff comes for you, and it's never subtle.
Yeah.
And I think that cliff has come for Catherine Legg. The problem is she's I hate being in this position because we have championed women racers on this show pretty much since it started. But this is the situation where you just have to call a spade a spade. And I just don't think she's got it. And that's obviously the cars that she's in isn't helping. She's running Live Fast in the Cup Series, and that team is basically there to get a check. And then the car she's running primarily is a back marker in Xfinity. She ended up in another back marker when she bought her way in, which caused this incident. So that's not helping either. But the wrecks have been so bad. And you can blame William Sawalich for a run into the back of her. He's arcing to go low. He's not expecting her to be there, is the problem. And she's going 30 miles an hour in the middle lane. It's hard, but I don't know if she should run the other races because she's running her and Jesse Iwuji, who had his own issues, are running Talladega this Saturday.
Oof.
There's a high likelihood there's going to be a wreck anyway. But Jen, we know how it is online. If one of those two causes the wreck, that is inevitably going to happen on Saturday because it's a plate race. It's not going to be pretty.
No, because there's already the negativity out there, and that's just going to add to it and threefold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Talladega is not an easy course to begin with when it comes to avoiding wrecks. So, what are you doing going 30 miles an hour on a racetrack?
Well, 30 miles an hour is slower than everybody else.
Oh, okay. But regardless, 30 miles an hour slower than everybody else. What is going on there? That's not okay, especially in the middle. You got to drop to the bottom and get out of everybody's way if you're going to go that much slower.
Yeah, it's a problem, unfortunately. And now we go to Talladega where, I mean, the good part about it is you just hold the throttle and turn left. The bad part is if she's in the pack, if either of them are in the pack, Jesse has not raced in a couple of years. And last time he raced, it didn't go well. Catherine this is going to be her third race in a Xfinity car, provided she qualifies, because there are 41 cars for 38 spots. It's not going to look good if either of them get into a wreck. And I'm just going to say this about Catherine Legge and the performance. It gets to a point where you start, particularly, unfortunately, for non-traditional drivers, one person's mistakes hurts everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point that her struggles are hurting Tony Breidinger, Amber Balchan, all of the women drivers that are trying to come up in NASCAR. Same thing that happened with Danica. She was so bad, it put a negative moniker on everybody else. And we already know how hard it is to get women into NASCAR, specifically.
Right.
She's not helping. And I think you've got to look at it. You're trying to further this goal of women in racing. You're not helping. If she was a promoter and using her sponsorships on women that need it so that they could get to Cup, I would love to see that, but I don't think I need to see Catherine Legge in a race car anymore. At least a stock car. She still got it when it comes to IndyCar, but I don't know if I need to see her in a stock car anymore.
That's fair. And to kind of go back to something you were talking about a couple minutes ago, Darryl, specifically where you say, we are a show that's historically championed women in motorsports. We are going to, we don't hold back. So when we see drivers who aren't performing, or, look at, the way that we talked about Kevin Harvick his last couple seasons.
Yeah, he was bad.
Jimmy Johnson we've talked about. So we definitely, I don't think that, anyone could mistake you saying that it's, time to recognize where you are at in your career. I don't think that, at least from our side, we see anything negative in what you're saying. If it was only her and you watched Kevin Harvick go like 3 terrible years and didn't call him out on it, then I'd say, Darryl, what the hell, but I think we just call it as we see it. And right now that's what we're seeing.
Yep. Hopefully it gets better. Talladega is this weekend, crossing our fingers that we have a good race down there, because there's a lot on the line and unfortunately for drivers that aren't traditional. We just know how it goes. And on a lighter note, NASCAR Hall of Fame voting begins this week. If you are a fan, the fan vote should be available soon. If not already out by the time you hear this, whether you're listening live or listening wherever you can get your podcasts to the re-air. And 2 new additions to the modern bracket, or to the modern voting slip, Kurt Busch and Randy LaJoy. Kurt Busch, the 2004 NASCAR Cup Series champion, the first champion of the chase format, and Randy LaJoy, who made a great career out of the Xfinity Series, no matter what his son says, are going to be available to be voted on in their first ballot to get to the Hall of Fame. Now, Jen, my question to you is, we know their resumes. Kurt Busch won the all-time wins. He's high up on the all-time wins list. Did win a championship. We know about the rebound that he was on. And Randy LaJoie, who was one of the great names of the early Busch series, should one of these guys get in on their first ballot attempt?
I mean, crazier things have happened. I would not be opposed to that. I was a semi Kurt Busch fan, but Jeff Gordon had my heart, so. But I mean, of the Bushes, he was my favorite. but yeah, I mean, it happens in all sports, so why not NASCAR?
Randy LaJoie in the Xfinity Series, 15 wins, 118 top 10s, 9 poles. Was the back-to-back Busch Series champion in 1996 and 1997. Chris, it would be ironic if Randy LaJoie got into the Hall of Fame as part of the Xfinity Series wing, given Corey LaJoie's comments earlier this season, talking down, making career of racing on Saturdays. But I think it would be the biggest middle finger from the industry to Corey if his dad got in as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of throwing middle fingers Corey LaJoie's way, so I'm all for it.
I think everyone is at this point, but let's get that Hall of Fame voting up. But yeah, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, that will be decided, of course, during the All-Star Week festivities as they decide who's going to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Then the induction of the class will take place in January of 2026, which we are all looking forward to. And coming up this week, of course, we're back racing in Talladega, and the race of the regular season championships begins. And we talked about it last week, some of the drivers, and Chris, you weren't here for this, but we talked about some of the drivers that we were pleasantly surprised by and drivers that we were disappointed by. We're now 9 races into this deal. First quarter of the season's over. Who do you like so far this year?
Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we talked about how those two were probably favorites for, a deep playoff run, but probably championship 4. I can tell you who I think is a big fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Willie B.
Yeah, he almost went Darlington. That kind of sent him into a little bit of a spiral here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at where Willie B was last year, his season last year versus so far this year, and there's a big discrepancy there. So, not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, I guess I would have to say though, as far as drivers that I'm, pleasantly surprised by, it's Christopher Bell, and I've been saying that.
I'm going to cut in here and say that's a little bit of a hot take to say the champion is not doing, or the points leader isn't doing that great.
Last year, though, he was just racking up the wins.
That is a good point.
Like,
and it's weird to say that because at times I'm like, he has struggled, and I look at the points lead.
I think
and I'm like, wait, he's leading.
It's one of those things where, like, what do they say? Like, the results don't tell the full story.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the case. If you think back over the year, how many laps has he been leading? Wins, I think by this time last, he's got the Daytona 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, which he did last year. But I think last year at this time, I think he had already added another win or two. He started out really hot last year. And then if you just compare last year to this year, I feel like he's not as productive as he was last year. And when you start off as good as you did last year, though, I guess it's hard to replicate that. But you've seen Christopher Bell basically replicate what Willie B did last year. And I think Christopher Bell will probably have more success with that hot start.
Yeah, man. It feels like Christopher Bell has cooled off.
For now.
He won those 3 races. He won those 3 races, and then he had 2 finishes of 12th or worse at Vegas and Homestead. Now he has bounced back with 3 straight races in the top 10, but Christopher Bell, he cooled off, and it's weird to say that.
With Denny Hamlin heated up at the same time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this, despite the wins, Larson has not looked great this year either.
No.
No.
Really? Nobody at Hendricks looking great right now.
No.
No.
And I say
And it's weird because it's weird to say this because they have 3 of the 9 wins this year, but nobody looks convincing.
No.
No.
And maybe that's what I should say more like about Willie B is like he's the points leader, but if you told me he's a round of 8 exit, I'd say yep, probably. If you told me it was a round of 12 exit, I'd say yep, probably. I don't see any of the Hendrick cars going into the championship 4 right now.
No, and
whereas last year at this time we were basically talking about Willie B's championships, his to lose.
Yeah. And I mean all 4 of them are in the top 10, but you wouldn't believe it.
Mm-mm.
Just by watching the races that they're 4 of the top 10 cars right now. That team is they're on a down year.
Yep.
By their standards, by the way.
Yes.
Because remember, this team has won over 200 races. The standard is different here.
Yep.
Yes.
It definitely is.
So who are some other guys that are...
I'm still waiting to see a sign of life out of Kyle Busch.
I don't think we're going to get that. I talked about that last week. I think he's cooked.
You think so?
I think he's just riding it out until Brexton gets old enough to run in trucks. And then he'll go down there, he'll win another truck championship with Brexton and be done.
Now, do you think with Brexton, are you talking as like car owner, crew chief type deal, or is he going to be racing?
I think he's going to be racing. Because he's already said he wants to race with Brexton.
Oh.
See, he's already said that he wants to do a truck series the full year with his son. So.
Oh, okay. It's like every dad playing Mario Kart with their kid. He just wants to whoop his ass once.
Yep.
Show him the old man still got it, and then ride off into the sunset.
Well, remember Harvick and
Keelan
are supposed to run a late model race together later this year. They were supposed to do it. Keelan was supposed to run a limited late model race back in earlier this month, but had a stomach virus and couldn't race. So
right.
That father-son driving on the same track brings back bad memories. I don't like it.
Yeah. Anybody that watched 2001 Daytona 500 feels that.
Yep. That they do.
Yeah. Hopefully that will not happen in either of these cases, but I could see Kevin coming back as well in the trucks. Because I think Keelan and Brexton are around the same age. I could see a Keelan and Kevin Harvick and Kyle and Brexton Busch in the truck series. Now, before we go to break, my question would be, would one of them do what Dale Sr. did to Dale Jr. in Japan that one year and push their son out the way for the spot?
Kyle would.
Kyle, absolutely.
I think Kyle would wreck Brexton for a win.
I think Kyle will try to do it just to do it.
Yep.
Kevin Harvick, he's a bit of a hard ass too, though. I could see him wrecking Keelan just for the hell of it.
They'll make a deal on the outside and they'll wreck each other's son.
Yeah.
Yep. I could honestly, Kyle Busch would burn up all the goodwill he's got with fans if he wrecked his kid or a win. Oh, I could see it. I could see Twitter now, but we're gonna leave you guys with that image, and we're gonna come right back. When we come back, Indy 500 testing begins, and the World Endurance Championship just wrapped up their second race of the season in Imola. We'll talk about all of that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And Cale's got a lot to talk about this week with the Golden Knights getting ready for the NHL playoffs. The Aces just completed the WNBA draft, their season getting ready to start. And, of course, WrestleMania 41 that just took place Saturday and Sunday. John Cena becoming the most successful heavyweight wrestler in the WWE history, picking up title number 17 by defeating Cody Rhodes last night with a little help from Travis Scott during that show. So check out Cale Henderson, who'll have the review on everything that went down in Las Vegas this week, or last week, tomorrow. So let's get into it here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm Darryl. Chris is there. Jen is down there. Michael is not with us this week. Hopefully we'll have him back on a future episode. And IndyCar is heading into the month of May. And while they'll be getting started with racing in Birmingham, Alabama on May the 4th, it is never too late or never too early to start talking about the Indianapolis 500. And this week, IndyCar teams will be on the track for the first time this season at Indy in oval configuration for the open test on April 23rd and 24th. Rookie orientation gets a start on Wednesday from 10 to noon. Refreshers will be from 12 to 2 o'clock, and all cars will be on the track on Wednesday from 2 to 6. Thursday, they'll have their first opportunity to test in qualifying conditions with a high boost session from 9:30 to noon, and all cars on the track from 2 to 5 p.m. Kyle Larson will also be there as well, getting ready for his second attempt at the Indy 500. Chris, the Indy 500, always the best IndyCar race of the year. How excited are you for this edition in a race that, since the turn of the decade, has just had banger after banger after banger after banger after banger when it comes to the finish department?
Quite excited. Even more excited if Scotty Mack wins. Yeah, no, it's definitely the last handful of years has put on a great show. And yeah, I still hate milk. And I think it's disgusting that they drink milk. I could never imagine getting out of a car after, racing 500 miles and chugging a glass of milk. So all the power to them. But yeah, I think, Joseph Newgarden's probably a favorite. He's been pretty solid the last couple of years doing it. And yeah, I'm excited. I sound it, as you guys can tell. I just kind of found like an octave where I can keep my voice without cracking too much, so I'm kind of stuck here.
Yeah. Jen, you're from the Midwest, so you guys know this race better than all of us. This is the time where IndyCar really has a focus in our national landscape, which is going to be a lot tougher given what is going on in our national landscape. But Indy 500 is always if NASCAR hadn't stole this line, it would be the great American race. This race has been with us for most of the 20th century and into the 21st. And it's going to be another great one at the end of May.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going to try and watch it this year.
Yeah. Well, at least you're in the Midwest part where you actually get to watch it live at 11 a.m. It is 2025. Why is there still a blackout in Indianapolis, Indiana for the Indy 500? They don't get to watch it live on TV. They have to watch it in prime time that night.
Wow. That's absurd.
Yeah. It's like, well, the people aren't going to come to the race if it's on TV. That is such a 1960s way of looking at the TV audience. It is the Indianapolis 500. There are families that go to this race. They are not going to stop going because you're showing the race at 11 on TV.
I mean, people still go to sports games, and they're mostly televised, so that logic doesn't check.
I just went to the Rolex this year, and hopefully, God willing, the creek don't rise, I might go next year. And I can watch that on TV and not be cold. And I still went and was cold because I wanted to be at the event. That's actually where I got this rather nice sweater, and I'm not cold down here. But it's about there's certain races TV does not do justice, and you have to be there. The Indy 500 is tops on the bucket list. They sell tickets out every year. You can lift the blackout.
Right.
Like, you
I mean,
don't
the
need the
tickets
blackout
are already
anymore.
sold at that point, so
They sell out every year.
oh,
I don't know. Some folks just got to get with the times. That's the only way I can put it.
Yep.
So
Does the
speaking
NFL
of,
still do blackouts?
yes, actually.
They do.
Yeah, Major League Baseball. I actually think all the sports still have them, which has been a major point of contention lately with all the regional sports networks going under. There's all the blackouts. Which in the year of technology and everybody can watch everything on the internet makes no sense. Just let everybody watch. Especially now because your ratings are dying. Except for the Indy 500, the ratings are still great. That's actually the only race people even watch nowadays with IndyCar. But anyway, 6 hours of Imola. Round number 2 of the World Endurance Championship was in the home of Ferrari, where in the 6 hours of Imola, it was Ferrari that made it 2 for 2 with the 51 car taking the win. The number 50, representing BMW M Team WRT, was second, and the Alpine Endurance Team, the number 36, comes home in third for their second podium, for their first podium with this particular car. They were very successful with the LMP1 badged hypercar during their early years in the series. This year they have their own out. For the last couple of years they have their own hypercar and starting to come into its own. Ferrari's still the dominant car at this number in the season. However, if you can, usually they will put like the final hour of this race up on YouTube. I would recommend you go watch it. This had a lot more passing and a lot more intrigue than anything we're going to see when Formula One goes there in a couple weeks. So I would definitely check out the WEC 6 hours of Imola. In LMGT3, Manti Racing picked up the win for their first win of the year with the number 91 car. Team WRT finishes on the podium in both classes with a BMW. And the Akatis Asp team, driving the Lexus, finished in third with the number 78 in front of the number 87. So the WEC will be off for a little bit. They will be back at it the 10th of May for the 6 hours of Spa. That is our final tune-up before the Super Bowl of endurance racing, the 24 hours of Le Mans. And I'm hoping to do something special here on the channel, but I want to talk to the co-host first, because that might be prime watch-along real estate if we have time. So stay tapped for that as the WEC continues on or rolls on towards their Super Bowl in June. So we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Formula One Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and we've got a lot to talk about, including a dubious new record that was set on Saturday during qualifying. We'll talk about this on the other side of the break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon. But it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yell, and if you are looking for sports takes that live a mile above the rest, look no further than Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to talk about NBA, MVPs, and champions? Yeah, that's us. Perhaps a baseball team that no matter how they play, you just can't quit them? Yep, we've got that too. What about Stanley Cups, NHL award winners in the burgundy and blue? Got it. How about Buffaloes that run, pass, shoot, dunk, You bet. For all things Colorado sports, look no further than right here every Sunday at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, and 7 Pacific. Because if that light is red and the kids are in bed, you are listening to Mile High Musings, where we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos. Stay good, sports fans.
Aaron Yal and Mile High Musings got a lot to talk about this week as well. Of course, the NFL draft coming up for the Denver Broncos. They're looking to take another step. The Colorado Rockies are, well, the Colorado Rockies and the Denver Nuggets are in the playoffs, looking to come back from a 1-0 hole as we are talking right now against the LA Clippers. Hopefully they'll be able to tie that series up tonight. Aaron Yao will have all you need to know about that on his show, Mile High Musings. So let's go ahead and get back into it with the So we are going to go ahead and get restarted with the Formula One Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And this was a race where we'll get to the race in a minute because it really was lap one, all the chaos happened, and then everything kind of settled out from there. But as I said during the break, we had a dubious new record set on Saturday, and that was the most eliminations from Q1 in the history of Formula One. And that record goes to, I'm actually going to let you guys guess it.
Let me guess. Lewis Hamilton.
Surprisingly, no.
I'm just kidding. I know who it is, Darryl. And I know who said maybe the most boneheaded thing I've ever heard in an interview.
Jen, do you know who it is?
I do not.
It is Lance Stroll.
Oh, I should have known.
75th career Q1 knockout. The most since the format started.
And then he followed it up with an absolute banger of a quote about it.
Take us through it.
Oh, I don't have it up, Darryl. You gotta give me a second.
I remember what it was. It had something to do with if Lewis...
No,
it has something to do with the McLaren, which had
I got it.
no bearing on the fact that he can't qualify worth crap.
No. He brought up the Saubers. Okay. So when asked about the record for the most Q1 exits, he says, you put the McLaren drivers in the Sauber for 10 years, and they will have the most Q1 exits. Lance, you don't drive a Sauber either.
Yeah, you drive for
Aston
your
Martin.
dad and Aston Martin.
Yeah, that just made no sense to me. I think that was such a boneheaded thing to say. Like, neither one of those teams have anything to do with your record, except for the fact they whoop your ass.
Yeah. I don't get this kid. And it's weird to say that because he's 26 now, but I don't get him. He cannot read the room to save his life.
He obviously can't drive the car either.
No, absolutely not. I know there's a lot of confliction in Red Bull land. Everyone's trying to figure out where Max Verstappen's going to go and whether or not he's going to stay. Well, A, is he going to stay in Formula One? And B, where's he going to go if he stays? Could you see Lawrence finally saying, okay, son, you're going to go drive the WEC car now? And putting Max in that car next to Fernando Alonso?
Equally as likely is Lawrence Stroll pretending Lance doesn't exist anymore and adopting Max.
Well, he could use a better father figure, I'll tell you that much.
You're no son of mine, Lance. Yeah, I think Fernando would get the boot.
Well, Fernando hasn't looked that great. Well, Fernando hasn't looked great for a while, but he definitely doesn't look great this year.
Well, the guy's in his 70s. Cut him a break.
He's not that old. I mean, he's 43, but in Formula One years, he's basically a fossil.
Yeah, he's geriatric at this point.
I'm offended.
We're talking about Formula One years, not regular human years. The rest of us are doing great for our ages.
That's debatable on my end, but
Oh, let's get into these results. Fernando actually finished just outside the points. Isaac Hadjar got him by about 13 seconds for the last point in the championship at Saudi Arabia. Oscar Piastri, as predicted, picks up the win in the McLaren Mercedes, and Max Verstappen finishing second, dragging that car up the grid. Unfortunately, was not without controversy with the lap 1 incident where Max cut the course, got a 5-second penalty. Christian Horner did Christian Horner things after the race. Chris, you're a resident Red Bull fan, so we'll go with you. What did you think of the penalty?
I think Max should have just gave the spot back immediately, or gave up the spot. It depends. It's complicated. I don't think Oscar had intentions of making that corner, to be honest with you. I'm pretty objective. I feel like you guys can probably, at least you, Darryl.
Yes.
We've been together long enough. I think you know that I got no problem calling out Max when he does something boneheaded. But I don't know. Oscar didn't really. This is one where Oscar didn't really give any room. And you can debate whether he was ahead or not, but Oscar really didn't seem like he had intended to make the corner. Yeah, I mean, he went off, but at the end of the day, either way, Max should have gave the spot back or up. Like I said, doesn't matter what your thought is, because when you lose by 3 seconds, he probably still realistically would have finished in second, but I just hate seeing that type of stuff, drama that's just completely unnecessary. So yeah, I mean, I can see it either way. I can see both drivers' point of view on that one.
My view of it is simply, if Max just lives to race another corner, he probably wins that race. I think he would have been able to drag that car to a win. But Max, he's done this his whole career, definitely since we've been doing the show, which has been the last pretty much his entire career, where he is not going to let any corner go. And I think it should have cost him the 2021 title with what happened at Monza, where if he just lets Hamilton go when Hamilton comes out of pit road, he gets him on the next straight. But instead, neither of them gave up the corner. They end up in the wreck. We know how that championship went, so we're not going to go over it anymore. But you see the examples of sometimes he lets the red mist take over, and it costs him. And it cost him again in a race that could have given his championship fight more life. I still don't think he's going to win the championship, but you're going to have to account for him the rest of the year because he's going to drag that car forward.
Yeah, especially at tracks like Suzuka and Saudi Arabia, where it is a driver's track and the driver makes a big difference. Look at those two. In this tractor, Max set lap records for both tracks consecutively. So, when you're talking, tracks that the driver has input on, you have to put Max down as probably a favorite. And just kind of going back what you said, Darryl, about this, I would say this character flaw of just being unable to let anything go. And all I say to that is the apple does not fall far from the tree. And we know, based off of things Max has kind of nonchalantly said in interviews, is, he could have let Oscar go, blew past him, won by 45 minutes, And all Jos Verstappen would have said is, why did you give up that first corner? And then probably beat the shit out of Max, because that's what Jos did.
Yep.
And all Max even says, my dad does not, he does not care about winning if I've made a mistake. He cares about the mistake. And so this is one of those things where, this is just conditioning. And then you've got Christian, who's just an enabler. Whereas I think Mercedes would be good for Max, because I don't think Toto would put up with it. And I don't think he'd put up with Jos Verstappen either.
I think Toto would tell Jos to go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But yeah, I've been saying for weeks now, if not months, that Oscar Piastri is going to win the championship. That Lando had no chance, and Lando once again proved that he's incapable of winning a championship. And I'm sorry, Michael's not here to defend his second favorite driver, but Lando is not championship caliber. He will never win a championship.
Well, he kind of proved it in qualifying on Saturday, where he put the car in the wall.
And then as he was walking back to the pit lane, he's like laughing and joking.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you 19 other drivers on the grid who would not be doing that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I think every other driver put them in his situation, they wouldn't be happy right now. No. Or they wouldn't have been laughing and joking after that.
No,
they would have.
All he gets is a P4.
Yeah.
He loses ground in the championship to the two people who he's fighting.
Well, it's 10 points now.
Yeah, and
to his teammate. And Jen, we talked about this last year, where McLaren waited too late to make the call, and it cost them the drivers' championship. I think you have to sit them down tomorrow, or whenever they do their competition meeting, and say Oscar's number one.
Absolutely.
Until further notice.
Absolutely. And further to the point on Lando, he had no fight in him in that race.
Mm-hmm.
For gaining position. So I am starting to agree with Chris.
And another thing, and not to turn this into the shitting on Lando hour, but he still refuses to acknowledge that his car has an advantage over everybody else. After Saudi Arabia, he even said, I don't think we're much quicker. I think the Ferrari and the Red Bulls are only like a 10th off. Which is blatantly untrue. You've got Oscar who says, like, we have a rocket ship and I'm taking advantage of it, which is the same thing Max said back with the RB19, the greatest Formula One car of all time. Max even said every time, like, it's unfair. My car is unfair. And Lando is just shitting on his team every time he says that our car is not fast, we don't have an advantage in the car. Dude, all you're doing is telling your team that they're not good enough, despite the fact that they built a goddamn rocket ship.
He's trying to play coy, and it just doesn't work when your car's that fast.
It doesn't land.
No.
Could you imagine the backlash if, with the RB19, after Max won his 23rd race of the 24th season of a 24 race season, he goes, yeah, the car, it was okay. It wasn't really much faster than anybody else. The backlash if he said something like that.
I don't think we all would be cool with that at all.
No.
If he said that.
You'd be saying, what about everybody back at Milton Keynes who built you that rocket ship? You're telling them all they are no good, or they didn't make a difference? And that's what he's saying about everybody, back at McLaren, is they have not built a good car. So
I don't know. I just think Norris, he thinks it's just going to come back to him, but I don't think that's the case.
He is not as hungry as Oscar Piastri.
No, and I think Piastri is going to take this opportunity and he's going to run with it. And I think he's going to be the champion at the end of the year, and he will have earned it. And he's the first Australian since Mark Webber to lead the championship. Mark Webber is a part of his advisory team, and I think Oscar's going to push that advantage.
I have to agree with you completely.
So the next time we will see Formula One will
The
be
problem-
May the 2nd through the 4th.
I would say the problem for Oscar is he's going to score so many points. He's going to have a huge entry fee next year that he can't afford.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be the one. Although I think the teams can pay that, so I think he'll be all right.
I was just looking it up, and he makes $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not too bad. But back in 2024, I think didn't Max have to pay like $3 million for an entry fee because of his points?
Well, yeah, he had so many points.
575, yeah.
I'd do some points shaving if I was Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, I'd get the lead, and then I'd let Max catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I would get the lead. Yeah, exactly. I would get some fourths and fifths in there, dude, because I would not want to pay that bill starting next season.
Get you the champion. Just maintain it.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk last week about, or was it this week, the Aston Martin Max Verstappen rumored contract came out?
I don't think we got to it, but
Oh.
Was that the one where they're talking about like $1 billion or something?
No, 3 years, $300 million. So he'd get $100 million a year to go to Aston Martin.
How does that fit in the cost cap?
I don't know.
That's got to be some clever accounting because driver contracts do count towards the cost cap. And if you're telling me $100 million a year of $150 million cost cap is going into Max Verstappen, good Lord.
You know what it is? Lance drives for free.
He has to.
Maybe that's why he keeps Lance around.
Well, all you got to do is give him an allowance.
Son, you are not only are you driving for free, you actually owe the team. You gotta lower the cap hit.
Oh man! So May 2nd through the 4th, Miami GP is the next stop for Formula One. Their first trip in America coming up in the month of May. And Miami, more good news next year. Homestead Miami for NASCAR gets the championship back.
Yep.
As they start the rotation method of the championship race. Not sure how many tracks are going to be in that rotation pool. I would not put any of the super speedways in it because it's all well and good until Daytona is the championship race.
And your season champion finishes 34th.
Got to take the photos with the absolutely destroyed race car because Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski decide to get hooked up with 10 to go and just junk the whole field.
What do you mean? Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski get locked up on lap 4.
Just wipe out the field. You got no championship 4 drivers the rest of the race. So we're trying to basically the cameras are in the garage, seeing them trying to fix the cars so they can get back out there.
Austin Dillon wins because he was in the pits when the race started.
Oh, Jesus. Somehow he'd find a way into the wreck, but...
Yep. Before we go, because I think you're about to close out.
Yes.
But did you guys see at the Saudi Arabian GP, did you see the turn 10 red light issue?
I heard about it. They did not show the light on the broadcast.
They did. Or
I missed it.
Not on the broadcast, actually, sorry. But I've seen video of it. And for anybody that's unaware, there was a building that you could see from the track that was just like perfectly in line with where the lights are on the track. And they flashed red lights. And so it looked like there was a red flag out. And they did it when Oscar Piastri was in the lead as he was coming around turn 9 going towards turn 10. And so I don't know if he hesitated or not, but he called it out on the radio. And I don't know, I can't say for sure whether it was just aimed, like done to Piastri, or if they were like doing it kind of consistently when people were driving by. I'm not sure, but I did see Piastri's in-car camera. And it's on Twitter. You should definitely go watch it because it would have got me like that.
Yeah, because I heard him mention something on the camera. He said it looked like a red flag.
Yeah. I'll find it on Twitter and I'll send it to you, Darryl.
Okay, did they ever figure out why the light was flashing, or they think it was something to do with Oscar?
No, it was fans.
Weird.
It was in a building that faced the track.
Mm-hmm.
It was somebody like on the 10th floor or something like that. And so as the cars were coming around, it was way off in the distance, but it's dark, so you can't really tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that it looks on camera, I mean, it looks like, a red flag, but it was not on the track. It was like in a building somewhere else.
I wish people wouldn't try to get involved in the races like that. Just let it play out,
Yeah.
So we are getting ready to close out this episode, and this is the last time we're going to see Chris for a little bit, as he will be, like many of the millions of farmers in this country, heading back to the fields to plant many of the fruits and vegetables and grains that we all consume on a daily basis. We know that the farming community is under enormous stress this year due to changes in federal policy. That's the best way I'll say it, with the rising prices and from feed to tractors to all sorts of equipment going up in price. The elimination of U.S. aid, which has cut off a vital lifeline for many farmers looking to sell their crops. And we just want to lift up our farming community this year as they head into the fields and know that the millions of Americans that rely on them for, let's be honest, everything, salute them and are with them as they head back to the fields this year. Chris, may be a successful planting season for all of you. We will see you in June. And for everyone out there, a part of the farming community, stay safe, and we will be grateful to receive your produce later this year. With that being said, Jen and I will be here, and Michael as well, to bring you through the world of racing, starting this weekend with NASCAR in Talladega. It's Dega, baby! Hopefully we don't see a big wreck. Who am I kidding? We are going to see a big wreck. Let's just hope Ryan Preece does not end up on his lid, because usually it's Ryan Preece.
Yep.
But with that being said, for Chris and Jen, I'm Darryl. This has been The Extra Mile. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.